My grandson's shocking betrayal. You're not family. What I did at midnight will haunt you. The clock struck midnight, a time when secrets lurk in shadows and whispers echo through the halls of the mind. At that hour, old Henry startled awake, his heart pounding like a drum. He had never expected his grandson, Alex, to bring such chaos into his quiet life, but tonight was different. It felt electric in the air, charged with a sense of foreboding, as if the universe knew something he didn't. Henry swung his legs over the side of the bed, feeling the coldness of the wooden floor seep through his slippers. The house was silent, too silent. First, there was the sudden power outage that left him in complete darkness. It wasn't just the lights that went out. A deep shadow had settled in his soul. Henry stared into the blackness, squinting as if trying to uncover some hidden truth. The emptiness around him felt heavy, pressed upon him like a weight he couldn't shake. A chill crept through his spine, and he thought he heard soft, frantic footsteps pacing outside his door. Then came the tapping, a soft, irregular noise that made the hair on the back of his neck stand on end. It wasn't a typical sound. It was hesitant, almost ghostly, like a finger tracing the outline of something forbidden. What was out there? Was it just his mind playing tricks? Or was it something more, something far more sinister? As he took a deep breath, a wave of dread washed over him. The memory of Alex's words echoed in his ears. You're not family. What had changed in a mere instant? That piercing betrayal weighed heavy in the air like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. This was supposed to be a family gathering, a moment of joy. But here he was, at midnight, grappling with a feeling he hadn't felt in years, betrayal mixed with despair. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The tapping grew louder, now accompanied by muffled voices, Alex's voice intertwining with another familiar whisper. Henry's pulse quickened, and uncertainty gripped him like a vice. Who was he talking to? The shadows danced menacingly at the edges of his vision, teasing him, begging him to uncover the truth lurking behind the door. He grasped the cold doorknob, uncertainty pounding in his heart. What would he find on the other side? Would he face answers, or more questions? The suspense was unbearable. What awaited him in the dark was a mystery that twisted deeper, pulling him closer to an unimaginable discovery. Should he leave the safety of his room, or was it too late? Henry paused, the doorknob chilling against his palm. He could practically feel the energy pulsing from the other side, a storm brewing in the night. Another exchange of hushed voices filtered through the door, this time laced with urgency. The panic settled into his bones. He was no longer just an old man confronting shadows. He was a grandfather on the brink of discovering a truth that could unravel everything he thought he knew. Alex, what are you doing? He whispered to himself, even as dread tightened its grip on his chest. He turned the knob slowly, heart racing like a wild stallion eager to escape a storm. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit hallway where flickering candlelight cast grotesque shadows on the walls. His breath hung in his throat as he stepped into the hallway, each creak of the floorboard beneath him sounding like a gunshot in the stillness. A clamor of muffled words caught his attention. He followed the sound like a moth drawn to a flame, driven by an instinct he hadn't felt in years. Peeking around the corner, he caught sight of Alex in the living room, a patch of faint light illuminating his youthful face. But he wasn't alone. There, standing shoulder to shoulder with his grandson, was a woman Henry had never seen before. Her dark hair fell in waves, framing a face that twisted in worry. They stood at the edge of the room, their backs turned to him, oblivious to the fate teetering behind them. Alex, please, we need to hurry. The woman insisted, urgency in her tone slicing through Henry's anxiety. If they find out, don't mention it, Alex interrupted sharply, his voice taut like a drawn bowstring. Just focus on the plan, we'll deal with Grandpa later. Grandpa later. The words hit Henry like a slap. Both betrayal and fear ignited his spirit, and for a moment, He struggled to comprehend what was playing out in front of him. Did Alex see him as an obstacle, a relic of the past standing in the way of something larger? Then came the undeniable truth splashed across the backdrop of whispers. There was something ominous looming over their heads, a threat that by design edged closer to him with each passing moment. Henry felt the ground beneath him shift. He was no longer a mere observer. He realized he was entangled in something far beyond his comprehension. That a sudden crash echoed from the kitchen, a deafening noise shattering the tense atmosphere. Alex turned. Panic splashed across his face as he faced the direction of the chaos. What was that? In a heartbeat, fear seized Henry, icy fingers wrapping around his heart. This couldn't be happening. The plan, the whispers, the crash had all collided into a whirlwind of dread. He noticed a gleaming kitchen knife lying on the table nearby, a weapon unassuming in its simplicity, yet full of potential. Henry's mind raced. He was being pulled into a dark narrative woven by his own flesh and blood. Run. We can't let them catch us. The woman urged, her voice shaking like the ground beneath them. That a sickening realization filled the air. The real danger was no longer just betrayal. It was something far worse. What was this terrifying plan they had concocted? And who or what were they trying to escape? As heart-stopping urgency gripped him, Henry found himself caught between flight and fight, the boundaries of family blurring as he stepped forward into the uncertain dark lingering ahead. What emerged from the shadows would change everything he thought he knew about love, loyalty, and the lengths one would go to protect them. And just as the tension reached its peak, the front door slammed shut, rattling the very foundation of their lives. This was only the beginning. Would he dare to confront them, or was it time to retreat into the shadows he once called home? Henry stood rooted in place, the flickering candles casting dancing shadows that seemed to flicker wildly against the walls, mirroring the chaos erupting inside him. The voices melded into a blur, panic and urgency saturating the air. He had to act. His family was in turmoil, and all he could think of was that knife on the table. Was it really meant for defense or something darker? He took a cautious step forward, moving with the stealth of someone who had spent a lifetime seeking wisdom through observation rather than action. As he edged closer, he caught snippets of their conversation that solidified his fears. "They won't stop looking for it," Alex said, his voice muffled but unmistakably frantic. "And if they find it first?" There was a loaded pause, a silence heavy with implications that left Henry's heart racing. "Alex, we have to trust each other. We can't let them win," the woman urged, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and resolve. "If they get their hands on that, we might not ever be safe again." The words sliced through Henry's confusion. That must be whatever they were hiding from, whatever danger they were entangled with. The thought of his grandson caught in such a web twisted his stomach. "Trust?" he murmured, incredulity creeping into his tone. How could they plot against something or someone dangerous and still maintain trust among themselves, especially toward him, their family? Suddenly, a loud crash erupted again, this time from the living room. Something shattered. Glass, perhaps? A dread cascade of possibilities unfurled. "Stay here," Alex shouted, and before Henry could process what was happening, the young man raced towards the living room door, leaving the woman to gnaw on her fear, her eyes wide with confusion. Henry's mind raced. Should he warn them, expose himself as their observer, or remain hidden? The decision was made for him when the woman, a flicker of defiance firing in her blue eyes, glanced over her shoulder. She spotted him. "Henry," she exclaimed, her voice a mix of fear and surprise. "Don't. Stay quiet." Alex barked from the other room, but it was too late. The moment of shock passed as Henry felt the weight of a revelation settle heavily in the pit of his stomach. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice barely above a whisper but edged with authority. She hesitated. Hers was a face caught between loyalty to Alex and the truth of her presence. "I'm Jenna. You don't understand what is happening," she replied, her voice trembling with urgency. "We didn't want what? To involve me in this madness? You didn't think I deserved the truth?" Henry felt flames of betrayal igniting within him. "Why are you running? What are you so afraid of?" The room buzzed with tension, every second stretching into eternity. The knife's chilling glint in the light seemed to beckon him forward. and Henry felt the pull of the impending storm both within and around them. "It's not about," Jenna started, but Alex rushed back into the hallway, face pale, eyes wide with realization. "Get back. They're coming," he shouted, urgency spilling from his voice like an impending tide. Before Henry could react, the front door burst open, crashing against the wall with enough force to rattle the very bones of the house. A group of shadowed figures poured inside, their silhouettes framing a scene that would seal the fate of whatever remained of his family. Henry's heart thundered in his ears, suddenly caught between old loyalties and new horrors. Would he stand and fight for his grandson, or would the overwhelming weight of betrayal send him fleeing into the night he once feared? He clenched his fists, feeling the heat of decision pressing down as the figures advanced. What horrors awaited him in the shadows of their fraying bonds? And would he dare to confront the truth lurking just beyond the door? The air thickened with tension, and Henry's instincts screamed for him to move. Time felt suspended, stretching into a raw, anxiety-filled moment as those dark figures moved purposefully through the door. Were they friends or foes? He could barely distinguish the fear in his heart from the mounting anger. "Jenna, don't." He shot her a warning glance as she stepped lightly, her expression tightening with resolve. She had to understand, they were outnumbered. Her unwavering bravery could blind them all to the danger they faced. "Keep back," Alex yelled again, his voice cracking. He stood protectively in front of Jenna, his body tense as he faced the intruders. "If you have any sense, you'll leave." One figure stepped into the narrow glow of the candlelight, a tall man, his face obscured by a hood, but eyes glinted coldly beneath the shadow. He surveyed the room with unsettling calm, releasing a low chuckle that echoed with eerie confidence. "You think you can hide?" he drawled, and suddenly it sank in all too painfully for Henry. Whatever this was, it wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was a targeted attack. The threat loomed heavier than a funeral shroud. "We're not here to play games." Henry's breath caught in his throat. The tension pulled taut like a bowstring, ready to snap. His feet seemed glued to the floor while his mind raced, searching for an escape route, a plan, anything. The knife on the table glinted like a beacon of potential, a means to protect, to fight if he had to. "Please, just leave us alone." Jenna's voice was strained, laced with desperation. "We don't have what you want. We both know that that's not true." The man stepped closer, his footfalls heavy and deliberate, intensifying Henry's panic. "We'll find what we want, with or without you." Henry exchanged glances with Alex, the youth's face reflecting the uncertainty and fierce determination he felt himself. They shared a moment of unspoken understanding, a fleeting bond that swayed like a fragile thread in the wind of their peril. With brazen courage, Henry stepped forward, nearly stumbling over his own trepidation. His voice rang out as he faced the looming threat. "Whatever you're after, you won't find it here. You'll have to get through me first." The masked intruder shrugged, a smirk crossing his face. "Brave words for an old man. But bravery doesn't keep you alive." He gestured, and the other figures took a step forward, threatening to cut off any escape. Each heartbeat thundered louder, an insistent drum reminding Henry of everything he had to lose. His grandson, family, peace. Every fiber of his being screamed to protect, but the odds tipped dangerously against him. Suddenly, one of the figures lunged forward, tossing something towards the floor. A flash of light exploded, blinding and disorienting. Cries erupted as everyone stumbled, the world transforming into a wild swirl of chaos and confusion. As smoke billowed around them, Henry felt the weight of dread in his chest. Memories flashed in his mind, the birthdays, the laughter, the long talks. And then the truth settled like a cinder in his heart. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a battle for the very future of those he loved. "Run," he shouted, instinctively throwing himself in front of Jenna and Alex. He couldn't let this darkness swallow them whole. But in that haze, in that moment of decision, the realization struck him. Jenna knew something. Something about that thing they feared, and that knowledge might be their only chance of survival. As the smoke began to thin, Henry's awakening to a hidden truth lit up the edges of his panic. What price would they have to pay to dismantle the web of deceit surrounding them? What secrets remained buried in the chaos? Was their future worth the fight to unearth the truth? In that split second, amidst the tempest, Henry felt a surge of defiance. They couldn't afford to lose. Not now. Jenna, tell me everything, he shouted, desperate above the noise, ready to unmask the enemy they truly faced. But in that instant, the door slammed shut behind them, and the air thickened with a suffocating silence. What had they sealed away, and would Henry discover the deeper betrayal before all was lost? The thud of the door echoed like a gunshot, slicing through the haze of smoke. Confusion lingered thick, suffocating. Henry felt the walls closing in, desperation clawing at his chest. He peered through the lingering cloud, trying to make sense of the scene unfolding. Jenna, he urged again, his voice hoarse. What do you know? But the fear crossed her eyes, replaced quickly by fierce resolve. I can't, she murmured, glancing back at the shadowy forms that loomed closer. The intruders moved with precision, their intentions twisted like the smoke that engulfed them. Each step they took tightened the cage surrounding Henry, Alex, and Jenna. It was as if the very air conspired against them, each breath a reminder of the danger. Your loyalty means nothing now, the hooded man growled, voice low and resonant, wrapping around them like a noose. You think you can protect her? You'll wish you hadn't tried. Alex's hands trembled at his sides. His body remained rigid, adrenaline taut in his veins. We won't let you take her, he shot back, even as doubt crept into his voice. Henry felt an avalanche of panic crash over him. He searched the table, heart racing, eyes darting for anything that could be used in their defense. Then the smoke began to clear. A flicker of light caught Henry's eye. He shot forward toward the window, body lurching. Should they risk it? Henry, no, Jenna shouted, running after him. But he couldn't hear her over his own pounding heart. Just as he reached the glass, chanting his own mantra to break free, he felt a hand on his shoulder, rough, cold, unyielding. They had made their move. Did you really think you'd escape? The man hissed, pulling Henry around to confront him. Henry tensed, a surge of anger bursting forth. We're not afraid of you. His defiance hung in the air, a fragile shield against the dread that threatened to consume him. Fear? No, that's not what you should feel. The intruder leaned closer, voice a serpent's hiss. You should feel regret, old man. Regret for what you've allowed to fester. A chill skated up Henry's spine. What had Jenna gotten herself into? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from behind them. The door had been forced open. A shadowy figure burst in, silhouetted against the fading light. Spectre-like, it stood poised in the threshold, and for an instant, everything froze. Who was this new player in the game of survival? Get away from them, the newcomer shouted, voice rough but clear. The figures paused, distracted by this fresh threat. Henry turned, heart hammering. The identity of this hero or madman was concealed in shadow, but their presence was palpable, burning with a fierce energy that ignited hope. Who sent you? The hooded man demanded, icy contempt punctuating every word. But before the new figure could answer, the room erupted in chaos once again. The air crackled, thick with the electric tension of impending violence. Back! Jenna cried, shouting towards Henry and Alex. We need to go now? Her urgency broke through the haze, planting a seed of bravery in Henry's heart. They couldn't just wait for the danger to unfold. They had to take action. As the air crackled with tension, turmoil buckled under their feet. With a decisive movement, Henry grabbed the knife from the table, its blade glinting ominously. The moment hung suspended, a sharp intake of breath shared between them, and then the chaos collided. Jenna screamed as one of the intruders lunged forward again, and Henry felt that quiet realization wash over him like a storm. This moment was about to spiral beyond anything he could control. Could he shield them all without losing someone forever? What deeper shadows loomed ahead, waiting to be unveiled? In the cacophony, he made his choice, plunging into the fray. But a sudden voice from the new figure echoed, slicing through the noise. Henry, this is bigger than you realize. There are things you don't know. Just then, an unexpected tremor shook the house, rattling the very foundation of their fight. What revelations awaited them in that growing storm? Would Henry uncover the truth about Jenna before it was too late? The room trembled as the tremor subsided, but the tension only escalated. Henry's heart thundered in his chest as chaos engulfed them. He could feel the heat of Alex's fervent resolve beside him, pushing them all to stand firm. The hooded man sneered, eyes flashing dangerously under the brim of his mask. Do you really think you can fight us? He growled, raising a hand to signal his followers. Several figures darted forward, shadows melting into the smoke-filled room. No. Jinnah bolted toward Henry, pulling him away just as a fist whizzed inches past his face. The force of the mist blow sent a shard of panic through him. Stick together, Alex shouted, voice cracking as he grabbed Jinnah's arm. We need to find a way out. But the intruders had formed a semicircle, cutting off their escape. Henry's hand trembled around the knife. He fought against the mounting dread that threatened to pull him under, but the instinct to protect Jinnah surged stronger than any fear. Think, he gasped, searching for a sliver of hope amid the chaos. We need to create a distraction. Jinnah's eyes widened, and then her fear was eclipsed by determination. The window, she yelled, pointing with urgency. If we can shatter it, we can crawl out. Without hesitation, Henry spun toward the nearby window. Okay, on 3. He counted down, adrenaline coursing through him. They had to shift the dynamics of the engagement. 3. He shouted. With a battle cry, he hurled the knife. It sailed through the air, a glinting blur. Time slowed as it struck the wooden frame, splintering the glass. The intrusion of fresh air was a tangible relief, cutting through the smoky suffocation. Go, he yelled, taking the lead as the glass began to rain down. In that moment of diversion, chaos erupted. Alex and Jinnah scrambled towards the opening freedom just out of reach. Yet the intruders regained their focus almost instantly. You let nothing stand in your way, old man. The hooded man bellowed, his voice resonating through the volatile atmosphere. Run, Henry screamed, pushing Jinnah out first. He followed close behind, feeling the rough edges of broken glass scrape his arm as he climbed through. Suddenly, a powerful force slammed into his back. He stumbled forward, the ground disappearing beneath him. Henry gasped as he landed hard, pain radiating through his side. The world spun around him, shock rippling through his body. Henry! Jinnah's voice pierced the din, followed by Alex's frantic shouts. She was on him in an instant, pulling him up as the shadows loomed behind them, hostile shapes in stark contrast to the moonlight spilling from above. Get up. We can't stop, she urged, desperation intertwined with fierce determination. His legs felt like lead, but her urgency reignited his spirit. They couldn't linger. They had to move. Pushing through the pain, Henry stumbled to his feet alongside Jinnah and Alex. They dashed away from the chaos, adrenaline surging, but the chill of being hunted washed over them as they made their escape down the alleyway. A harsh laugh echoed behind them. You think this is over? You have no idea what you're running from. The hooded man's words chased them into the night, each syllable a sharp reminder of their vulnerability. Henry felt the weight of something dark and sinister clinging to them as they fled. Where do we go? Alex panted, glancing back as the sounds of pursuit echoed in the distance. Anywhere but here, Jinnah replied urgently. We need to find a safer place to think. The adrenaline slowed, but the fear stayed at their heels. They turned a corner, pressing against the cold brick of an alley, breaths quickening in unison. Henry braced himself against the wall, his heart still racing. We need answers. What did you mean about things we don't know? He asked Jinnah, feeling exposed and vulnerable now that a moment's respite had come. Her face paled, uncertainty flickering across her features. I can't explain now, but there are things about my past that I've kept hidden. Things that shouldn't have happened. Before he could respond, the distant sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the alleys. What are you hiding? Henry pressed, bracing himself for whatever she was about to reveal. Her gaze darkened. If they find us before I tell you, you may never know the truth was closer maybe, but would it be enough to save them? As shadows closed in, they felt the profound weight of their choices, and Henry realized that the next steps could seal their fates forever. What secrets would come to the surface next? Would they wish they had never uncovered the truth? The footsteps grew louder, ominous and steady, echoing through the narrow alley with a chilling certainty. Henry's heart raced again, the adrenaline pulsing like a heavy drumbeat in his ears. He couldn't decide what was more terrifying, the certainty that they were being hunted or the fear of what Jinnah might reveal. Go, he urged again, moving ready for whatever came next. We can't wait. We have to stop. Jinnah grabbed his arm, urgency etched on her face. They said they're not done with us. I need to tell you this now. The pressure of their situation was suffocating. The universe narrowed around them, like breath constricted in a tight grip. What is it? Henry asked, his voice a strained whisper. She took a breath, steeling herself. My family, they're not who you think they are. They've kept secrets. Dark ones. Involved in things that no one should ever touch. Her words seemed to hang in the air, heavy with a gravity that threatened to pull him into despair. What do you mean? What kinds of things? Alex interjected, glancing nervously over his shoulder. Jenna's eyes darted left and right, as if the shadows had ears, ready to pounce on their confessions. The organization that attacked us, they're connected to my father. He made deals. Deals with people who a distant shout broke through the tension, waking up their instincts. We need to move, Henry insisted, looking down the alley for any signs of escape. Jenna shook her head, desperation creeping into her tone. If we're caught, we may not survive. Those people work for someone powerful, and he won't hesitate to eliminate threats. Then let us not be threats, Henry said, panic sharpening his focus. If your father is involved, we need to get you away from this. We can figure it out once we're safe. Before Jenna could respond, Alex's eyes widened. They're coming. A dark figure entered the far end of the alley, silhouetted against the soft glow of streetlights, a hooded man, his followers lurking in the shadows, like predators eyeing their prey. Run, Henry shouted, shoving Jenna ahead as they sprinted for the echoing street ahead. The sound of their footsteps was a chaotic symphony against the cracked pavement, urgency washing over them. They turned another corner, racing past a line of abandoned cars, the cool metal a refuge in a sinking feeling. Where to now? Alex panted, scanning the area. There. Jenna pointed to a narrow passageway between two buildings, literally a crack in the wall, barely wide enough for them to slip through. They leaped toward the opening, squeezing through, just as heavy footsteps thundered behind them. The air was thick with tension and fear, and the dim light left them in partial obscurity, like ghosts haunting the edges of the night. Inside the cramped space, Henry pressed against the wall, breathless, his heart racing. What do we do if they find us? He asked, desperate for a plan. We have to keep moving, Jenna replied, tremors in her voice. If they're looking for me, they won't stop. They'll search everywhere. But that's just it, Henry exclaimed, a thought striking him. There's got to be something more than just running. Maybe they want something, information or leverage. Or to eliminate a threat. Alex cut in grimly, as they all peered out cautiously. Jenna's eyes narrowed. The plans, they came from my father. If they get those back, they might not need me. We need to find a way to not only protect ourselves, but also to figure out how to turn this around before it's too late. An alarm surged through Henry at her words. Turn what around? Are you suggesting we go after them? Yes, Jenna said firmly, determination filling her eyes. We have to reclaim what they took. The thought sent a chill down Henry's spine. And what if we can't? He whispered, the weight of her proposal pressing down like a falling sky. Jenna's jaw tightened. Then we risk losing everything. And in the end, not just me, but all of us. As they huddled close together, the night trembled around them, and Henry felt the darkness closing in. Would they emerge from this unscathed, or would their next choice plunge them deeper into a world of chaos? In that flickering moment between choices, Henry realized they were standing on the brink of a decision that would change everything. What would be revealed when they faced the shadow that awaited them? What truths, hidden in the depths of fear, would finally claw their way to the surface? The air was heavy with silence, each of them holding their breath, straining to hear any sign of their pursuers. A whisper of dread crept into Henry's mind. They had come so far, and yet were still in danger. What would happen if they had to confront Jenna's family? How do we even start? Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Jenna closed her eyes for a moment, gathering her thoughts. The plans have to be hidden, somewhere at my family's estate. If we can infiltrate, we might find out exactly what my father is up to. Your father? Henry's eyes shot to Jenna's, disbelief mixing with fear. Are you sure it's safe to go back there? She nodded vigorously. I have an idea of where he keeps them. But we have to be quick. They will find us if we stay here too long. Henry glanced at Alex, who scratched his head, uncertainty clouding his face. And what if they're waiting for us? What if they know we'll come for it? Then we'll be ready, Jenna replied with a fierce determination that ignited a spark in Henry's chest. They could either run forever or take control of this mess. They couldn't let fear dictate their actions. "Let us go," he said finally, his voice steadying. "No more hiding." They hesitated only for a moment before squeezing back through the opening they had slipped through. Cool night air slapped against their faces as they emerged onto the deserted street, the haunting quiet reminding them of the danger lurking around every corner. "Where to?" Alex asked, his eyes darting around, the shadows swallowing the streetlight's meager glow. "Down that way." Jenna pointed toward the end of the street, where the looming structure of her family's mansion could be seen in the distance, dark and foreboding. With each step they took, their hearts hammered in unison, a primal rhythm that urged them forward. Every sound echoed ominously in owl hooting, the rustle of leaves. But those sounds were nothing compared to the dread they felt when the faintest hint of lights flickered to life in the mansion's upper windows. "They're already awake," Jenna said, her voice trembling. "What if they're waiting for us inside?" Anxiety edged into her tone, swirling her usual courage into a dark uncertainty. "If we stick to the shadows, they won't see us," Henry suggested, his mind racing. But as confident as he tried to sound, the gnawing fear was relentless. They pressed onward, and as they approached the mansion, the enormity of it loomed over them. Jenna halted, peering at the grand entrance. "We need to get in quietly. Is there a back door?" Alex whispered urgently. "There's a side entrance, but I need the key," Jenna explained. "I might be able to find it in my old room." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from within the mansion. The ominous noise sent a jolt through them, and they froze, exchanging worried glances. "Did you hear that?" Alex whispered. "Yeah," Henry said, a lump forming in his throat. "We need to hurry." They tiptoed along the wall, the large windows casting shadows that danced menacingly in the moonlight. Just as they rounded the corner, Jenna flinched at the sight of two figures standing just inside the entryway, their voices low but charged with tension. "We can't let them breathe a word of this," one of the figures growled. It was a voice Henry recognized, one of the men from the organization that had attacked them. "Then we eliminate the loose ends," came the chilling response. Jenna's breath quickened, panic clawing at her. "What are we going to do?" Henry turned to her, eyes fierce. "We don't have any choice. We press on. They're talking about killing us," he urged. But as they huddled closer, a draft of wind swept down the hallway, swirling the edges of fear around them. Whether they were ready or not, destiny had forced their hands. The shift in the air felt like destiny exhaling, the world beyond their moment waiting, restless. With a firm resolve, Henry stepped forward and whispered, "Stay close. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves anymore." One final glance at Jenna's determined expression fueled his resolve. Whatever lies beyond those walls, whatever secrets awaited, they would face together. But as they crept forward, an unsettling thought flickered in Henry's mind. What if the confrontation shifted everything they thought they understood about Jenna's family and what they truly were? The path unwound before them, and the answers lingered just beyond the darkness. Would they walk away whole, or would they unravel truths that would change them forever? They slipped toward the side entrance, hearts pounding like war drums. Every step made Henry's chest tighten with anxiety, silence draping around them, heavy and thick, every second stretching painfully long. Jenna pressed her hand against the door. It felt cold under her fingers, a stark contrast to the heat of their racing hearts. "Here it is. I just need to remember where I put the key," she murmured, glancing around as if it would simply appear. The shadows seemed to mock her desperation. "Quickly," Alex urged, his voice barely more than a breath. The nervous energy vibrating in the air was palpable. They could still hear the faint whispers from the entryway inside. Suddenly, a flash of light broke through the darkness. The figures had moved, their shadows now cutting through the narrow windows, silhouetted like ghosts ready to pounce. Henry clenched his fists. They had to act. "Jenna, can you boost me up to one of those windows?" Her eyes widened with fear and disbelief. "What? No way. That's too risky." "Risky is walking in here without a plan." He glanced at Alex. "We need information, and it starts with us getting a look inside." Jenna bit her lip, her resolve flickering like the dim light in the mansion. "Okay, just be careful." She bent down, allowing Henry to climb onto her back. As he reached the window ledge, he peered inside. The sight sent a shiver down his spine. The two men stood with tension crackling like electricity. One was pacing, while the other leaned against the wall, arms crossed defiantly. They were deep in conversation, but the panic in their voices was hard to ignore. They want to be able to hide forever. You know what to do if we find them, the pacing man said, his tone lethal. Yeah, just like we did with the last one, the other replied, grim satisfaction lacing his words. Henry's stomach twisted. That was a warning, a promise of violence. Get down, Alex hissed urgently. Jenna quickly lifted him off the window, barely missing a frantic deceleration. They barely got a grip when the door swung open, the draft almost catching its edge, like an icy breath from the abyss. Their instincts kicked in. They scrambled to hide, ducking behind a stack of old crates piled near the entrance. Air rushed through Henry's lungs as he crouched low, scanning their surroundings while Jenna held her breath beside him. You hear that? Alex whispered. Henry noticed a movement in the shadows to his left. At that moment, another figure entered, this one smaller but equally menacing, clad in dark clothes that swallowed the light. Henry's heart raced. This wasn't just any shadow. It was Jenna's brother, Marcus, the wild card who had disappeared months ago. Let him go, Marcus said, voice low and dangerous, as he stepped into the flickering beam of light. You don't know what you're getting into, he warned, his eyes darting around the room that a chill washed over Henry. What is he doing here? He breathed. Jenna's expression hardened, disbelief etching her features. He shouldn't be here. He is part of this mess, she whispered. Before they could process what this meant, the door creaked again, and the two men from before stepped out, now fully alert. Marcus? What the hell are you doing? Get back inside. You don't want them to see you. The urgency in Marcus's voice was sharp enough to cut through the tension. Jenna glanced at Henry, fear gripping her tighter than any moment before. We have to move. Now. They scrambled from their hiding place, hearts racing in sync as they darted toward the mansion's west wing, where Jenna remembered a secret passageway that could lead them to the family records. Shadows loomed, mingling with their fear, but they pushed through the anxiety, pressing forward into the unknown. Just then, a deafening crash echoed from behind them. The two men had realized they weren't alone. No more time to waste. Run, Henry shouted, adrenaline fueling their flight. They bolted down the narrow hall, the sound of footsteps pounding behind them. But in the chaos, a question echoed in Henry's mind. Could they trust Marcus? Was he a friend or a traitor lurking in the shadows? They skidded to a stop, breathless and panicked, lingering in the air like the scent of impending doom. Behind them, the darkness loomed, a reminder that answers lay somewhere between betrayal and survival. As they turned another corner, Henry felt a jolt of fear. The door to salvation was at the end, but would it lead them to freedom or deeper into the lioness den? Henry hurtled down the narrow passage, Jenna and Alex close behind. The shadows clung to them like a second skin, a reminder of the danger trailing their every step. The echo of clattering footsteps chased them, intruders determined to shut down any hope of escape. Which way? Alex gasped, the urgency thrumming in his voice as they reached a fork in the hall. Left. Jenna pointed fiercely, and without hesitation, they veered down that path, plunging deeper into the mansion's belly. The walls felt like they were closing in, dark and oppressive, every sound amplified in the thick air. They sprinted onward, seeking the sanctuary of the records room. Jenna remembered as they skidded into a small room. Henry slammed the door shut, pressing his back against it, breathless. Is this it? He panted, scanning the dimly lit space. Jenna nodded, her face pale but resolute. It should be. If we can get the records, we'll understand more about my father's connections, everything. They rushed to a dusty table in the center, frantic fingers digging through stacks of yellowing papers and files piled high. Each moment felt stretched, heavy with tension, as muffled voices outside the room echoed ominously. Can you find anything? Henry urged, peering out through a cracked window to monitor the hallway, praying they wouldn't be discovered. Just give me a second, Jenna replied, her voice tight as she rummaged through the chaotic mess. A flicker of anxiety darted through Henry's chest. They didn't have much time. Suddenly, Jenna's hand stilled. She lifted a folder, the cover embroidered with a family crest that made Henry's stomach twist. This is it. This is what we need. Just as she opened it, a sharp knock reverberated through the door. They're coming. Alex cried, eyes wide with panic. Hide, Henry commanded, looking around the tiny space. They had to think fast. Without hesitation, Jenna shoved the folder beneath the table, and they pressed against the wall, holding their breath in collective dread as the door swung open. 3 figures stepped inside the 2 men from before, along with Marcus. The air turned electric with tension. Search everywhere. One of the men ordered, scanning the room with a predatory glare. We know they're here somewhere. Don't you dare betray us, Marcus. The other man leaned closer, voice low and menacing. You know what's at stake. I didn't sign up for this. Marcus snapped, the fight apparent. If they find them, you think they'll just let us walk away? What? Henry whispered, glancing at Jenna and Alex, confusion swirling in his thoughts. He is playing both sides. Jenna hissed back, eyes narrowed with determination. We can't trust him now. As they watched, tension swelled dangerously in the room. The intruders began searching methodically, moving toward the table where the folder lay hidden. Now, Henry urged, adrenaline thrumming through him. They couldn't wait any longer. Together, they charged out from their hiding place, stunning the 3 men. Get them! One of the intruders shouted, but Henry was faster. He lunged forward, instinct driving him to tackle the man at the front. A rough scuffle broke out, limbs constricting like wrestling snakes. Alex and Jenna fought side by side, desperate to push through the chaos. Henry's heart pounded in his ears, determination igniting every fiber of his being as he wrestled for control. Henry, the folder, Jenna shouted amid the turmoil. In that moment, he glanced back to see it teetering on the edge of the table. With a powerful throw, he sent the intruder sprawling onto the ground, allowing Alex to land a sharp kick that sent him backward. They fought with raw passion, a torrent of emotions flooding each strike. I've got it, Jenna cried, snatching the folder from the table just as the other intruder recovered himself and lunged toward her. But before he could reach her, Henry shoved him back, sending him crashing against the wall. Run, Alex shouted, urgency coating every syllable. Without hesitation, they dashed back into the hallway, with Jenna clutching the folder to her chest. There, feet hammered on the wooden floor, breath heavy in their lungs, propelling them forward. But the world outside was no safer. Distant shouts echoed, the realization dawning that they had not just tangled with enemies. They had awakened something dangerous within the family. Where do we go now? Alex gasped, skidding to a stop by a side door. Out the back, Jenna pointed, and they darted toward the exit, bursting through it into the cool night air. The shadows outside felt different now, threatening yet freeing as they wearily stepped away from the mansion's malevolent grip. Heart pounding, fear pounding out a frantic rhythm, they regrouped, determination flickering like a candle flame among them. The folder contains our answers, Jenna murmured, glancing at their surroundings. We have to figure this out together. Henry nodded, finally feeling the bonds of family ignite anew. They had been forged in chaos but united by purpose. The night stretched out before them, dark paths ahead, yet there was a flicker of hope amidst the shadows that as they moved forward together. Henry felt a shift in his spirit. Despite the betrayal, despite the lurking dangers, they were a family fighting for their truth. They couldn't be hunted any longer. They had to reclaim their future and face whatever awaited them on the other side of the storm. And as they pressed into the dark, their hearts aligned, and their resolve unwavering. Their journey had just begun. The path ahead held the weight of sacrifice, but finally, they were no longer just surviving. They were standing together against the chaos, ready to unearth the truths locked within shadowy depths. Now, it was time. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support.